Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Adam and Chelsea are threatened by Kane and departs with a message for Victor that is encrypted. Christine is shocked to see Danny at the jazz club. As it happens, he's meeting Michael and she's there to meet Lauren. When the married couple shows up, they are joyfully discussing setting up a table and are squabbling over Michael's lies. At the rock star's wedding, Lauren says she doesn't even want to sit next to her spouse. Christine and Danny take their warriors to different corners of the room as they rehash their quarrel, and Michael gets upset that Lauren blamed him for attempting to prevent a crisis. Michael grimaces at the bar after downing the Cosmo that Christine had bought for Lauren. Christine. His wife yells at Danny across the room as Chris starts working to get Michael to consider Lauren's perspective on Victor. Lauren sobs that the stress of worrying about Michael working for Victor has almost destroyed their marriage, despite the singer's attempts to reassure her that Michael can care for himself. Danny invites her to think of all the reasons she loves the lawyer and reminds her that they allow each other to be who they are. Danny. Christine employs the same strategies on Michael at the bar as Danny tries to soften Lauren. He acknowledges that his wife is the greatest mother and that she is feisty, amazing, and independent. Will Jack get help from Jill? Jack calls Diane at Jabot to let her know that he doesn't find it shocking that Victor went awry with this De Leon narrative. They both concur that it's careless and might lead to Kane taking revenge. As she enters, Jill tells him to make the most of her time here because she won't be in town for long. Jack. Jill claims that Billy's rejection is the only thing that is upsetting her, but Jack is concerned about her health. Jack believes he has good cause to be angry with her. Jill acknowledges that she could have handled Chancellor's position more skillfully. Although Jack acknowledges that he also let his brother go, Jill contends that they cannot abandon him when he most needs them. They make fun of the bonds that bind and occasionally choke, and Jill acknowledges that she doesn't know how to communicate with her kid. Jack shifts the focus to Kane and asks her whether she can prevent that train from crashing. Jill. When the topic of Newman Media's exposé comes up, Jill informs Jack that Lily read it and took it personally. The abbot fears that this will provoke an attack from Kane. Jill claims she believes she persuaded Kane to make peace and refrain from pursuing his alleged enemies after Jack rang his hand. We wish you luck since right then and there. Kane's cryptic message, what does it mean? Adam and Chelsea are celebrating the Kane story at Newman Media when the man himself enters. Did you enjoy our article? Snarks Adam. He refers to Ashby as a sleazy conman's sleazy son and questions whether he wants to be on the record. Kane asserts that it was a work of fiction and promises to bring a slander lawsuit against Newman Media. Adam Kane, Chelsea. Adam tells Kane that they stick by their tale as Kane attempts to draw a comparison between Chelsea's and Colin's histories of deception. Kane doesn't believe he checked the facts, instead, he heeded his father's directions without question. They argue verbally, and Adam advises him to prepare for the flood of long-lost De Leon family members who will want to reclaim the items they took. Kane wishes Adam had competent solicitors. Ashby cryptically teases them on his way out that he will have a new story for them, an exclusive for Chelsea, but it will turn out completely differently. Adam Kane. Adam advises Kane to give up the AI software if he wishes to achieve something honorable. After nudging him about prodding the bear, Kane eventually walks away. Chelsea is curious about his activities. Adam, once Genoa City's most shrewd and calculating character, doesn't know. He will need to consult his father about this. Phyllis, what are you up to? Phyllis finds herself alone on the Kane train. She browses his bookcases, and Kane shows up, clearing his throat. She was searching for patience cards when he accused her of spying. After the most recent maneuver by the Newmans, she's shocked that he's not blowing things up. Is any of it true? She wonders as they take their seats on the couches. The Kane-Phyllis YNR. What takes place in the last scenes? Danny and Christine observe Michael joining Lauren in the jazz club and apologizing for being sly and evasive. Lauren apologizes as well for her stubbornness, but she will always be concerned about his safety. He has helped so many individuals they care about, and she is proud of him for that. Baldwin consents to speak the truth, and his wife promises to consider Victor's perspective as well. Danny and Christine cheer and give each other hugs and kisses. Michael Lauren gives YNR a kiss. After everyone has gathered, including Cosmos, Chris asks Lauren to be her maiden of honor, and Danny and Christine ask Michael to perform their wedding. When Danny jokes that this wedding will rock on, everyone chuckles and raises a glass. Danny, Michael, Christine, Lauren. Jill is unsure about the accusations made against Colin at Jabot, although he is undoubtedly capable of doing so. She wants to think Kane wasn't involved. According to her, Ashby believes his father was deceiving him the entire time because he was pleased with the respectable thing they had constructed. Kane's entire possessions will be reduced to ashes if that proves to be a lie. That might be just what Kane needs, Jack says. Victor gives Adam and Chelsea a rare compliment for their peace as soon as they arrive at Newman Enterprises. They declare that Ashby intends to file a lawsuit. Victor doesn't give a damn. They caution him that a completely different kind of story will be promised to him in the future. Victor reflects that he is preparing his next action. Since Kane was reportedly with his father throughout the entire scam, Phyllis is curious about where he draws the queue on the Kane train. Is she still with him? Kane wonders. She is. Completely. Kane states that he wants to alter people's perceptions of him and doesn't want to discuss the piece. Where do I fit in, wonders Phyllis. Kane's comeback tale has been a stretch from the beginning, but we've accepted it despite our skepticism in the hopes that some genuine drama would emerge. Unfortunately, there hasn't been anything except the senseless murder of Nate's new sibling and the final Chancellor heir. The plot itself is predicated on the blatantly implausible idea that Kane Ashby, the robber, has all of Genoa City's most influential businesspeople trembling in their boots at the prospect of an AI program and some nebulous plan. The plot's complete stagnation and monotonous speech have practically made us want to drink. Now, and this isn't even the ludicrous plot point in our headline, the authors have begun implying in dialogue that we should see Ashby as a young Victor Newman and, most likely, the next in line to become the wealthiest and most vicious man in Genoa City. Let's just say that anyone who has watched the show for 10 years or more is probably not happy with the suggestion. Naturally, Kane's role as the new Victor has the drawback of forcing fans to ignore the full past of another important character, who has been mainly marginalized to fit the author's Ashby vision. By now, you may have figured that we're talking about Adam. Chelsea subsequently asked Adam, "What do you think he's up to?" at Newman Media after Kane hinted about giving Chatham a story with a very different finish. Adam shrugged, "I have no idea," as his entire persona as an adult was based on his superior wit, ruthlessness, and calculation. "My dad will have to approve this." "Hold on, what?" Adam Kane, Chelsea. Even though it was a blink and you'll miss it moment, it was quite powerful. In order to promote the idea that new Kane is somehow more like Victor than his own son, Young and Restless seems to be, if not rewriting history, then asking viewers to entirely ignore who Adam is and has always been at his core. Or, for that matter, daughter. While she would normally be venting her emotions over Cole's death on the enemy, Victoria, who has also long been portrayed as her father's natural heir, has been off drifting in the background of this narrative. Adam Victoria. Conclusion: the confrontation itself was as dry as a piece of styrofoam, which contributed to the scene's overwhelming sense of disbelief and despair. Another instance of unheeded potential drama that practically writes itself. Consider the much-needed excitement that would result from a fight between new Kane and the former Adam. Post your thoughts in the comments section below. When the tension in Genoa City felt like it couldn't possibly rise any higher, Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson found themselves thrust into the eye of a storm that not even Victor Newman's influence could contain. Newman Media's walls buzzed with energy that day, the kind that makes the air feel charged, unpredictable, and dangerous. Adam stood behind his sleek desk, his expression unreadable as he scrolled through a flood of notifications reacting to the explosive article that exposed Kane Ashby's alleged ties to the De Leon family scandal. Chelsea, ever the intuitive partner, sensed the unease beneath Adam's stoic facade. She tried to hide her own apprehension with a wry smile, but the name Cain Ashby carried a weight that neither of them could ignore. The article had drawn blood, and they both knew Cain was the kind of man who would strike back, not with words, but with a message that would leave its mark. The elevator chimed like an omen, and the moment Cain stepped out, the entire atmosphere shifted. The sound of his footsteps was deliberate, echoing across the glass office floor as though each step carried a warning. "Did you enjoy our article?" Adam quipped, his tone sharp as a blade wrapped in velvet. Cain gave a slow, mocking smirk. "Enjoy it," he said, voice low. "No. But I appreciated the creativity. Fiction this well-written deserves awards." Chelsea crossed her arms, her eyes flickering between the two men, one born into power, the other clawing his way toward it. Adam leaned forward slightly. "Well, you know, when you're the son of a conman, it's hard to tell fact from fiction." Cain's smile vanished, and for a brief second, something dark flickered in his gaze. "Careful, Adam," he warned. "Your father's empire has more cracks than you think. You might just fall through one." Adam tried not to show the sting. "If you're here to threaten us, don't waste your breath. Victor doesn't take kindly to bullies." Cain chuckled, the sound low and unsettling. "Bullies?" he repeated. "I prefer the word visionaries. And as for your father," Cain leaned in, lowering his voice, "you tell him I've got a message, but only he'll understand it." He slipped a folded piece of paper onto Adam's desk. It was blank at first glance, but Adam noticed faint impressions on its surface, something written in invisible ink, perhaps. Before he could react, Cain turned to Chelsea, offering her a look that was almost sympathetic. "You'll get your exclusive soon, Chelsea. But trust me, you won't like the ending." With that, he walked out, leaving behind a silence that buzzed louder than any threat. "Encrypted message?" Chelsea asked softly, once Cain was gone. Adam's jaw tightened. "He's playing games. And my father hates games he doesn't control." He picked up the mysterious note, holding it under the light. There were symbols, faint, hidden, but deliberate. A code meant for Victor, and Victor alone. "We need to show this to him," Adam muttered. But deep down, he already knew, whatever Cain had planned was just beginning, and the Newmans were in his crosshairs. Meanwhile, across town at the jazz club, the mood couldn't have been more different, though chaos of another kind was brewing. Christine Blair entered expecting a calm evening with Lauren Fenmore, but instead found herself face to face with her past, Danny Romalotti. The rock star was there meeting Michael Baldwin, and the moment Christine realized the tangled web of coincidences, she nearly turned on her heel. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered under her breath as she spotted Lauren and Michael entering, arm in arm, arguing playfully but with the bite of years-long tension. Lauren was scolding Michael about his lies, tossing her hair in frustration. "At your rock star's wedding, I don't even want to sit next to you," she snapped, only half joking. Christine couldn't help but smirk, while Danny just gave a long-suffering sigh. "Looks like the Baldwins are in full swing tonight," he said softly. Christine nudged him. "Don't even start. I've had enough of men who think they can charm their way through a crisis." When Michael overheard, he raised a glass from the bar and muttered, "Cheers to that," before downing Christine's untouched Cosmopolitan. The situation quickly spiraled into one of those perfectly Genoa City evenings where past loves, present grudges, and too many martinis collide. Danny and Christine tried to calm their respective friends, pulling Lauren and Michael into separate corners like referees in a domestic battle ring. "Lauren," Danny began gently, "you've always loved that man because he's passionate, not because he's predictable." Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "Passionate? He's working for Victor Newman again, Danny. That man has ruined marriages, lives." Danny placed a hand on her shoulder. "And yet, Michael's still the man who would burn himself to save you from the fire." At the bar, Christine used similar tactics. "You know she's scared for you," she told Michael, her tone steady. "Not angry, terrified." Michael sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know she is. I just wish she could see that I'm doing this for all of us. Victor doesn't own me. Christine smiled sadly. You sure about that? Michael chuckled bitterly. No. But I'm sure about her. Across the room, Lauren was saying nearly the same thing. He's reckless, impossible, but he's mine. When Danny urged her to focus on that truth, Lauren finally exhaled the pain she'd been holding in. Their reconciliation was as sweet as it was messy. Michael approached, glass still in hand, and before words could form, Lauren simply whispered, "I'm sorry." He kissed her hand and murmured, "So am I." The room, once filled with sharp voices, softened into laughter and forgiveness. Danny and Christine shared a knowing look, the kind two people share after realizing maybe, just maybe, love is the only thing more powerful than all their mistakes. Back at Jabot, Jack Abbott's phone buzzed with news of the Newman media confrontation. He sighed, glancing toward Diane. You'd think Victor would learn by now not to provoke a man like Kane Ashby, Jack muttered. Diane frowned. It's reckless, Jack. Kane has nothing to lose. Just then, the door opened and Jill Abbott strode in, her presence commanding as always. If you've got a moment, Jackie, she said briskly, I'd like to make the most of it. I won't be in town for long. Jack raised an eyebrow. Planning another escape? Jill smirked. Let's just say, I need a break from disappointment. And right now, that includes my son. They both knew she meant Billy. Jack leaned back, studying her. He's still avoiding you? Jill's eyes softened for a fleeting moment. He's not avoiding me, Jack. He's rejecting me. That's different, and worse. Jack nodded slowly. You know, for someone who's supposedly immune to heartbreak, you sure sound a lot like a mother right now. Jill chuckled despite herself. Don't start. I've been through wars, Jack, but nothing compares to the battlefield of raising that boy. When the talk turned to Kane, though, Jill's expression darkened. You think he's dangerous? Jack asked. I think, Jill replied slowly, that Kane believes he's right, and that's always the most dangerous kind of man. Jack sighed, rubbing his temples. Then we better hope Victor realizes what he's dealing with. Because if Kane's looking to send a message, Jill cut in sharply. He already has. And if I know Kane, it's not just a warning, it's a promise. By the time Adam and Chelsea reached Newman Enterprises later that evening, Victor was already waiting. I read your little exposé, he said without looking up from his laptop. Good work. Coming from Victor Newman, those two words were practically an award. But when Adam laid the mysterious note on Victor's desk, the mood shifted. He said it's for you, Adam said simply. Victor's piercing gaze lifted. He examined the paper under his desk lamp, eyes narrowing as the faint text revealed itself, coordinates, numbers, and one haunting line of code, it always begins where it ends. Victor folded the note, his mind already racing. Ashby's trying to play me, he murmured. But he forgets, I invented the game. Chelsea frowned. What does it mean? Victor looked up slowly. It means Kane wants to reopen a chapter that should have stayed buried. The DeLeon affair wasn't just a scam, it was a cover-up. Adam's pulse quickened. And you think he knows something? Victor gave a tight, grim smile. No. I think he knows everything. Across town, Phyllis Summers was playing with fire, as usual. She had followed Kane's trail to his penthouse, convinced there was more to his sudden bravado than met the eye. She wandered through the room, pretending to admire the decor, when Kane's voice cut through the silence. You lost, Red, he said dryly. Phyllis turned, feigning innocence. Just browsing. You've got quite the collection here. Books, files, secrets, Kane's expression hardened. You looking for patience cards, or something to use against me? She smirked. Maybe both. When she asked if any of the accusations against him were true, Kane didn't answer right away. Instead, he poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed her one. Does it matter? He asked finally. You tell me, she countered. Because if this is your big comeback, it's a weird one. You're talking in riddles and hiding behind old ghosts. Kane leaned forward, his tone low and deliberate. I'm not hiding, Phyllis. I'm reminding everyone that you can't erase history, not mine, not Victor's, not Adam's. His gaze turned distant. They all think they can bury the truth. But the truth always finds its way back. Later, at the jazz club, as Michael and Lauren finally reconciled and Christine and Danny toasted to old love reborn, the laughter echoed like a brief moment of calm before the storm. Chris asked Lauren to be her maid of honor, Danny teased that their wedding would rock Genoa City, and for a fleeting hour, the world felt lighter. But outside, the storm clouds were gathering. Jill received a call, from Kane's burner number. Tell Jack, Kane's voice said, the game's in motion. And tell Victor, the message was only the beginning. As she hung up, Jill's face went pale. What have you done, Kane? She whispered. The next morning, Victor sat alone in his office, the cryptic note in hand. The sunlight caught the words once more, revealing a faint insignia, the De Leon crest, long thought destroyed. Adam entered quietly, Chelsea at his side. Did you figure it out? She asked. Victor's eyes gleamed. I did, he said coldly. And now, it's my move. But in truth, Kane had already played his. Somewhere deep in the network of Newman Enterprises, an encrypted file began to upload, its sender listed as CA. The title read simply, The Fall of the Newmans. And as the screen flickered to life, Adam and Chelsea didn't realize it yet, but they weren't just players in Kane's game, they were his pawns. The next morning, Genoa City seemed deceptively calm, the kind of crisp autumn day that made the chaos of the night before feel like a dream. But for Victor Newman, sleep had been impossible. He'd spent hours studying the cryptic note Kane had left behind, the one marked with faint numbers and the chilling phrase, "It always begins where it ends." He'd seen codes like this before, during the darker years of his empire, when secrets were currency and power was measured by what one could conceal. But this message felt personal. It wasn't just business. Kane Ashby had reached deep into Victor's world, threatening to unearth something long buried, something that could destroy not only Victor's reputation but his entire family legacy. When Adam entered Victor's office that morning, he immediately sensed the heaviness in the air. His father stood by the window, staring out at the city skyline, a tumbler of scotch in hand despite the early hour. "You've been up all night," Adam said quietly. Victor didn't turn. "There was a time," he murmured, "when men like Kane Ashby would have been wise enough to stay out of my path. Now they think they can challenge me." Adam folded his arms. "He's not just challenging you, Dad. He's threatening us all." Victor finally turned, his gaze sharp. "That's exactly why we need to strike first. Before he finishes whatever he started." He handed Adam the note. "Look closely, those aren't random numbers. They're coordinates. To Chancellor Park." Adam frowned. "The memorial?" Victor nodded. "It's where it began for him, and where it will end."